Hello everyone, you're all welcome to another edition of Python Made Simple. In today's video, we'll be looking at exceptions in Python, handling exceptions, the try and except. We'll look at the finally statements, and we'll end with raising exceptions in Python. Okay, so what exactly are exceptions? What we mean by exceptions? You see, exceptions occur when something goes wrong due to an incorrect code or input. Now the code immediately stops when an exception occurs. Good. So for example, let's try something like this. Okay. So 0 division error, division by 0, is a type of an exception error. Okay, now there are so many other types of exception error. We have the input error. Usually this occurs when an input fails. We have an index error. Yeah, this happens when a list is indexed with an out of range number. We also have the name error when an unknown variable is used. So for example, we can just say, let's just say this. It is not known, it's an unknown variable, so you get this error. We also have the type error. It occurs when a function is called on a value of an inappropriate type. So for example, let's say using the print statement, let's try this. And we have, let's make it a variable here, a string here. Let's add it to 2. So no, this is a type error because you are trying to add a string to a number, an integer. So the next error is a syntax error. We also have a value error. Now the value error happens when a function is called on a value of a correct type, but with an inappropriate value. Okay, so now with handling exceptions, there are times where you are running a code or you are programming and you want some errors to be suppressed. You don't want them because the errors happening will stop the code from running, will stop and truncate the code. Yeah, so sometimes it's good to use exceptions, and there are 2 types we'll be considering today. We'll be considering in this video. We have the type except statements, which are used to handle some exceptions. Now, with a try block, it contains a code that might return an exception. Now, if that exception occurs, the code in the try block is not executed, and the code in the except block is run. If no error occurs, the code in the except block doesn't run. Okay, so moving forward and looking at this example, using the try block, we are saying that num1 is equal to 12 and num2 is equal to 0. Now you should go ahead and print num1 divided by num2. When it's done, it should print finish. But when this error appears, you should forget about the error, go ahead and print an error occurred because of the 0. So resaving this and running, we have this. It doesn't show the error, even though there's supposed to be a 0 division error, but it goes ahead to print what is after the except block. Now, a try statement can have multiple different except blocks to handle different exceptions. Okay. Now, multiple exceptions can be put in a single except block using parentheses. Okay. So let's try this again. So using the first try block, so num1 is equal to 8. Okay, so let's print num1 plus high. Okay. When this is done, it should print num1 divided by 2. Okay. Now, bringing in the except block, we are saying that for the 0 division error, should first print divided by 0. Then adding another except block. As I said, you can use multiple exceptions in a single except block. So we are going to call on the value error exception, and separated by a comma, we call on the type error exception, and closing that with our semicolon. We tell it to print error okay. So saving this and running, num1 divided plus I will definitely give us a type error because we are trying to add a number stored plus a string. Now what it will do is that it's going to forget about this error, it's going to bypass this error and go ahead and print error occurred. If there is another error within it, we've stated or we've called upon 3 different exemptions: the 0 division error, the value error, and the type error. So if any of these errors happen to occur, they are exempted and they go ahead to print error occurred. So moving forward, any except statement without any exception specified will catch all errors. They can catch unexpected errors and hide programming mistakes. So by just using the except statement without calling on exceptions, it can catch so many errors. So trying this other example, so let's say try, and we have something stored in letters, then we say okay, let's say the letter L, right, then we say print letters divided by 0. Okay, and now we go ahead to use the except statement without adding anything. So we say print error. So print an error as occurred. Error occurred. So be it any type of error, we just go ahead to bypass that error and print an error as occurred. So running this, it goes ahead to print an error as occurred. Okay. So now, looking at the finally statement, it is also another way of bypassing errors in our code and to hide programming mistakes. Now it is used to ensure some codes run no matter what error occurs. It is usually put at the bottom of a try except statement. So looking at this other example we are going to look at. So this is our try block, and we are saying that print hello, print 2 divided by 0. Now with the except block 2 following, we are saying that with the 0 division error, we should print divided by 0. Okay. Then using the finally statement, we say it should print this code will still run. So we should be very careful when typing, because if we have syntax errors, they will definitely not run. So with the first statement in the try block, print hello, there's nothing wrong with it, so it goes ahead to print it. Now with the second statement, which is 2 divided by 0, is definitely a 0 division error. So this particular error is skipped, and a statement in the print command, which is divided by 0, is printed. Now finally, we print this code will still run. So the finally statement is usually put at the bottom of these two statements, and it runs no matter what error occurs. Okay. So the last thing we'll be looking at today will be raising exceptions. Okay, good. Now the raise exception statement can be used to raise exceptions. Now the 0 division error is type of an exception, and we're looking at ways at which we can raise these exceptions in programming. So for example, let's just do something very simple here. So print 1, and we are saying that it should raise value error. And print 2. Okay. So print 1, alright, but we are calling upon this error we are raising this error to come. We are raising this error. So it's more of like we are more of or less telling Python that there's a value error here we want it to bring out, to bring forth. Okay. So trying the second one. Okay. So let's say 1 divided by 0. And we say, why did I do that? So except if I don't do this, I'll get a syntax error here. So except 0 division error command. So you should go ahead and raise value error. So I have a feeling I'm going to get a syntax error. Okay, good. So okay. So during handling of the above exception, another exception occurred. Are you getting it? During handling of the above exception, another exception occurred, and it raised the value error exception. So that's it. So now we can add arguments that explain the error. So for example, if we raise an error in a particular code we are preparing, we can add arguments to the raise error statement to explain why we are raising this particular error here. So for example, let's say name, okay, and we are storing 1, 2, 3 in it. Okay, then let's raise the name error. Then within it, we now add our arguments, which say that invalid name. Okay, so let's run this and see what happens. Okay, so it has actually explained, and most of the times when we make mistakes, some of these narrations are added: syntax error, name error, this, and it helps us correct the code and get back to programming. Okay, so thank you very much for joining me in this video. Don't forget to share, like, subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much.